I want to thank the track club first for giving me this opportunity to speak. I very much appreciate it. They told me I had 5 minutes, so I'll try to stick to 5 minutes, but you have to know I've ran 12 marathons and I've gone over the Boston qualifying time every time. So I'll keep working on it, but I'll try to get done in 5 minutes. One of my favorite quotes is from a lady by the name of Maria Robinson. She says, "Nobody can go back and start a new beginning, but anybody can start today and make a new ending." And tonight I want to tell you about Marathon for Kids and ask for your help in changing the ending in the race of a lifetime for some kids in our area. And I want to do that by telling you about 2 hobbies, one organization I believe in, and a website I've created, and ask for your help at the end. The 2 hobbies, the first one is writing. My grandma was a librarian. My other grandma liked to write, and I picked that up. I write for my business. I write a column every month, which is some boring utility stuff, but it is a hobby of mine. And I run with a few guys, Jim Carpenter, Dean Bott are back there. They all ran in high school, and I'm the guy in my group who didn't run in high school. Played a little basketball. I went out for track in 8th grade, and it sucked. I did not like it at all. But I got old. I've always enjoyed Green Bay Packer football, and not so much last Sunday. But about 10 years ago, they started a marathon over there. And the first year, it was just a half marathon, and they had a 4-mile event. And if you entered that 4-mile race, you got to run on the grass at Lambeau Field. So that was my first race. And I went coast to coast at Lambeau Field. And I've been running ever since. You had to take a bus back to the start, and the guy says, "Are you going to do this again?" And I'm all sweaty, and I had to tape my race number onto my shirt because I had no safety pins. I didn't know how it worked. I had it taped on with duct tape. It's my first time ever put a race bib on. And I thought, well, maybe I'll do it again. And so I started running over in Wisconsin where I lived at the time. I did a couple of half marathons over there. Moved over to Traverse City in March of 2003. And you have a race called the Bayshore. And somebody says, "Well, you should sign up." Well, I've done a couple of halves. I used to all do a full. And in fact, in those days, you could sign up in March. You didn't have to do it in December. And so I did. So the Bayshore will always be special to me because that's the first one. First time I met the wall, first time I got through the wall, and the first time I did not qualify for Boston. So I got the 2 hobbies going along, and after my second marathon, which was the Green Bay Marathon, by that time they didn't let you run on the grass. You have to go on the cement around the field, but you still get to go down the path where the players come. My family can watch you in the stadium, and it's pretty cool. After the second marathon, I joined the Big Brothers Big Sisters board, and I got drawn in the lottery to go to New York City and run that marathon because it doesn't have a qualifying time, so they let me in. I had a great time there. I took my son and a niece, and it's the most American event I've ever been involved in until I get to your race. And you can probably make that happen later. So after New York City, I had such a good time there, and that's when I wrote my first story. I call it an American event. It's the first one I did, and that started the process, and that created the idea of running a marathon in every state. And at that time, I'm on the Big Brothers Big Sisters board, and as many of you know, that's a local youth mentoring organization. It matches adult mentors with kids from typically low-income, single-parent families, and it fills a gap in their life. And Big Brothers Big Sisters is all about changing the ending. If you read that handout you got, or if you didn't get one, if you picked one up on your way out, the statistics are phenomenal on how the endings change. If we can match kids who need a mentor with an adult who's got an hour a week, or I see a little boy at Blair Elementary, or we played basketball today at lunch. I take 1 lunch hour a week and spend with the kid. And we've all been through the marathon wall, and that's what these young kids are facing. They're a wall in their life that they need help to get through. And I feel like that's what Big Brothers and Big Sisters does. So I got the 2 hobbies and 1 cause that I very much believe in. So what do I do next? Well, this summer I took my first plane trip to go to a marathon, rock and roll marathon in Seattle. Not as good as the Bayshore and never as good as Boston. But I'm sitting on a plane in Minneapolis. We had a layover there, and I'm on the back of the plane, and all of a sudden, 50 people come in. It's the team and training people from Minneapolis. They got all the team and training shirts on. They're dressed up. They're hooting and hollering on the back of that plane, and you can just feel that energy. And that made me start to think, what could I do like that? And that's where I got the idea of this website called Marathon4Kids. And because I believe in Big Brothers, Big Sisters, I wanted to tie it to that. And I did that through a very personal story. It's all right. I've not talked about this in public, so just bear with me. But the story, I lost my father. I'm 47 years old. But I lost him when I was 18 months old. I didn't mean to do this, so I apologize. But because of that, I kept that story very private for a long time. There was an accident similar to my father's. It was a drunk driving accident that happened in my hometown 3 years ago. And that's when I first went public with my stories. People knew about it. I grew up in a small town in South Dakota, so they knew about it, but I never laid it down. And 2 fathers lost their lives, 5 kids were without a father, and the community was a bit torn up. So I took that opportunity to write the community a game plan. This is what you need to do for these kids the rest of their life. And that story is at the website. It's called Alone Together. And if you don't run, well, obviously you run because you're here, but if you know people who don't run, aren't interested in running, that story can help them. If you know a kid who's without a parent, who's in need of a mentor, go to that story. If you don't want to join Big Brothers, Big Sisters, if you want to just help one kid that you know, there's a game plan for how you can do that. The game plan is there for what those kids need. And along with that, that's the cover story on the website. And then on the side is what I like to do for fun, and that's run marathons in every state. I'm up to 12 marathons now. I've written a story about 10 of the marathons. I've got to catch up on Bayshore, which I'm going to do this year. I'm actually running it with my niece who came to New York City with me when I wrote my first story. She's coming to Bayshore. There's Pikes Peak Marathon is one of my favorites. Certainly New York is there. We ran a little marathon in West Virginia this past summer. 89 runners. You talk about a small marathon. But I'm standing, they have an early start at that one, which I take advantage of because I did not qualify for Boston at that one either.
All right, you're in.
I'm standing under a tree at 6:30 in the morning in West Virginia, and there's a Bayshore shirt. Out of 89 runners, there's a guy who ran Bayshore in 05 or something, so we got a little chit-chat under the tree. So all those stories are there. We ran 2 marathons one weekend because I am a little conservative. You can go to Kansas City and run on Saturday, and on your way home you can catch Des Moines, Iowa on Sunday. I would only do that once, but that story is there as well. So they ask, because I think probably running over my time, you go to the website for $26.20. You get access to all the stories for a year. I've got 3 marathons coming up. We're going to do New Jersey the end of March. And I'm going to do Big Sur the end of April. Got a little 30-day coast-to-coast thing going on this spring. You have access to those stories. And then I'm going to run Bayshore and write that story at the end of May with my niece. And for $26.20, like I said, you get access for a year. And you get a share in changing the ending. So I want to close with, when I was a kid growing up without a father, if I couldn't earn it, obtain it, or achieve it on my own, I convinced myself I didn't need it. And this I can't do on my own. These kids need your help. And I want you to think about it like this. How many of you have a running buddy that you're going to get up on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and if you don't hit the alarm, he's going to be there without you? How many get up to run just because somebody's there waiting for you? You know you do. When I don't have those guys, my 2 guys are back there. We'll be there in the morning. If I don't have them, I don't get up to run. Have you ever been in a group of runners and it's a crappy day and the wind is blowing like heck, and so you decide to get in that single line and block the wind for each other? I've done that. I'm sure you've all done that. Have you ever pulled up beside a guy in a race, somebody you didn't know for just a few hours, and they've helped you through that race? I just had that happen in Georgia. I'm sucking and I need some help. I pull up behind this guy from Tennessee and a gal from Georgia, and 10 miles later, I didn't know what I did, but I set a PR that day. That's what these kids need. That's exactly the help they get from Big Brothers Big Sisters. They get somebody to help them through that wall. And so all I'm asking you is, together, we can get the kids through this wall, and together we can change the ending for kids. So $26.20 a year, come on along. It's going to be a 10, 15-year journey. You can help some kids out, and I very much appreciate your time.